In this video, we take a look at all the ways we can program the TIDRadio TD-H3. It can be a GMRS radio, it can be a ham radio. This thing's awesome. Check it out. Hey guys, I'm Kevin with Kemp Outside, your inside source for all things outside. Well, today we are continuing our video series on outdoor communications with our second video on the TIDRadio TD-H3. Guys, I've gone on record saying that this might be the best radio under $100 on the market today. I did my first video on this radio last week where I looked at all the features and all that stuff. So if you want to see that, you can check it out right up here. Guys, in that video, we do a spurious emissions test, we do power tests, we do all kinds of tests on the radio to see how well it performs. We do an audio test. And guys, I gotta say, I really like the radio. You know, one of the things that I forgot to mention about it was the battery capacity when I was doing the radio review. So I'm gonna cover that real quick. I'm gonna pop this battery off and just take a look at it. And so guys, it is a 2500 milliamp battery. So, and again, USB-C rechargeable. So I really like that. So now that I've got that out of the way, so what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at all the different ways you can program this radio. This is one of the coolest things about this radio, and why I say it rivals radios that are much more expensive than it is because the amount of options you have for programming this radio is really cool. You can program it with TIDRadio's proprietary software. You can program it with CHIRP. You can program it by having it connected to your computer via the USB-C cord on the side. Or guys, you can program it with Bluetooth using the OD Master app. You can switch this radio back and forth between GMRS and ham. This thing is cool. So what I want to do is dive right into it. Okay guys, so the first thing I want to talk about is the transition between ham radio and GMRS. So I'm going to start off with just the very basics, guys. Maybe some of you don't know this, or you're just starting out, or you're looking into it. And what you want to know is it legal to have a radio that does ham radio and GMRS? And the answer is no, for the most part. So what does that mean? Well, a ham radio can be unlocked for any frequency, right? And so if you have a ham radio and you have a ham radio license, you are authorized to transmit on the ham radio frequencies. But the radio can be unlocked and can have what we call a VFO, where you can tune to any frequency you want. And as long as you're within the ham band, you can transmit on that frequency. GMRS is a channelized radio service, which means it has individual frequencies assigned to different channels, right? And there are 22 channels in GMRS, and then there are 8 repeater channels. And so if you have a radio that transmits on any frequency outside of a GMRS channel, that radio is no longer legal for GMRS. So I hope that makes sense. TIDRadio has kind of gotten around that by allowing you to select whether or not you want ham radio or a GMRS radio when you turn this on. And so that is really cool. One of the reasons why I really like that is because as a ham radio operator, I like carrying a ham radio. But as a GMRS operator and as a GMRS license holder who lets my family operate on my GMRS license, I don't want to put a radio in their hands that can transmit on a channel or frequency that isn't in GMRS. So in a sense, all I want to do is to give my wife or my son a GMRS radio and not a ham radio, in order to make sure that they're always transmitting on the proper channel or the proper frequency. So with a TIDRadio TD-H3, I have the option of doing either one. I can have this set up as a ham radio for me, or I can have it set up as a GMRS radio for them. And how you do it is you select ham or GMRS based on holding a couple of buttons when you turn the radio on. So we're going to demonstrate that right now. So I'm going to lean in here. Okay, So how you do it is you hold the top PTT button, the push to talk button, you hold that, and then you hold the star button, which is right there, right? And as you hold that on, you turn it on, right? And so you're gonna get, on the menu, you're going to get a selection. Number 1, ham, number 2, GMRS, number 3, normal. So if I'm doing GMRS, I'm gonna select 2, right? And so then it says, let's see if I can get, it'll say, do you want to initialize, right? It'll say data will be erased. Actually, it says data will be eraser, confirm, right? And you're going to say yes. So I'm going to hit the yes button. And then what that does is it reinitializes the radio as a GMRS radio. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to make sure it's in channel mode, right? And so you can see there, as I zoom in, see at the bottom there you see GMRS 1, so that's GMRS channel 1. Now the frequency you see on the screen is the frequency for GMRS channel 1. So if I want to go change the channels, I just hit the up arrow.
2.
And you'll see GMRS 2,
3,
GMRS 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, when you get into
7, 8.
GMRS channels 8 through 14, I think it is, you'll notice that it switches from high power to low power, and it switches from wideband to narrowband. So just so you know, GMRS channels 8 through 14 are low power, narrowband channels, which is very important, and then the rest of them are back to wideband and high power. So this radio automatically does that for GMRS. So when I turn it on and initialize it as a GMRS radio, I can hand this to anybody who either has a GMRS license or is legal to operate on my GMRS license, which in this case is my wife and my son, and they're good to go. There's nothing they can do. If they were to enter in a ham radio frequency, which this radio will still receive ham radio frequencies, is basically pretty cool. If you hit this VFO mode to channel mode, right, and I go, see, I don't know if you heard it, but it said frequency mode, I can go ahead and enter in a ham radio frequency. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to enter 146,520, which is the national calling frequency on 2 meters for ham radio. But if I hit the button, right, you can hear that it's not going to allow me to transmit. So it won't transmit outside of GMRS. So that is really cool, because just in a very simple few keystrokes, I can set this thing up as a GMRS radio and I'm good to go. Now, when I want to switch it back to ham radio, I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to hold the PTT and the star button and turn it back on. And it's going to give me those selections again. It's going to give me ham, GMRS, and normal. Sorry if it's blurry. This time, I'm going to press 1 for ham radio. And so it says data will be erased, confirm. I said yes. And now it's going to initialize as a ham radio. And so it looks like it's in VFO mode. I'm going to enter in my 146,520, right? My national simplex frequency for 2 meters. And then if I hit transmit, KB8 WPD testing, I'm transmitting on 2 meters. So it's now a ham radio again. Now, the bummer is that if I have a bunch of ham frequencies programmed into this radio, and this radio takes 199 memory channels. If I switch it over to GMRS, it erases out all those channels. And then when I switch it back to ham radio, all those channels are still gone, right? So I have to reprogram the radio. Now, there are a couple of ways to do this, and it's really, really easy. One way is to connect it to my computer and either use the OD Master program on the computer connected to the USB-C cable, or to use CHIRP. And I'm a huge fan of CHIRP. So I'm going to put a link down in the description below to where you can download CHIRP. And CHIRP is a free software program. It's like freeware for programming radios, and they program all kinds of radios. So if you are someone who has a number of different radios, you might want to have CHIRP because it works for Baofangs, it works for Oceans, it works for Radioddity radios, it works for TID radio, it works for all different kinds of radios. So if you have a number of different radios of different brands and they all work in CHIRP, then you're going to want to use CHIRP for all your radios. So I use CHIRP. I could hook this up to my laptop and program it in CHIRP, or I can use Bluetooth and reprogram this right from my mobile device. And so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to show you how I program the radio right from my iPad. Let me get the camera set up and we'll show you how we do it. Okay guys, so here we go with CHIRP. I've got it pulled up on my laptop here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I am going to, I'm going to open my ham radio profile for my TD-H3. Now, I went ahead and made this so that this is what I would write to the radio. So I have my simplex frequencies to start that I always put into my radios. And then as I scroll down, you can see I've got some repeaters. I've got all the SAR nets. So what's really cool in Florida is the entire interstate system is covered by a series of linked repeaters. So I've got those in there. And then I've got some repeaters listed by county. And then all the way down at the bottom, I put in my NOAA weather channels. Okay, so if I want that written to the radio, what I do is I go ahead and open the door here on the side of the radio. I plug in the USB-C cable, make sure the radio is turned on. Okay, so to program this into the radio, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that it's plugged in, and then I'm going to come up here to radio, and I'm going to hit upload to radio. It's going to choose my COM port, which is correct, and it's a TIDRadio TD-H3. If I'm working with other radios, sometimes this will be changed and you'll have to come in and select it, and I hit OK. And as you can see, it is writing this program to the radio. So keep in mind, this was totally blank because I had switched it over to GMRS. Now it's back in as a ham radio. So once it's set up as a ham radio, what I want to do is I want to read that in the OD Master app. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to turn this radio off. I'm going to disconnect it from CHIRP, right? I'm going to move CHIRP aside. And I'm going to bring in my iPad with my beautiful dog, Ellie, my wire-haired pointing Griffon. Okay, so then I'm going to go to OD Master, right? And I'm going to open the app. And so there it is. The app is now open. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Program. I'm going to need to connect to Bluetooth, so I'm going to click that. As you can see, it does recognize the TD-H3. Sometimes it won't, guys. Sometimes I have to hold this little blue button to get it to notice that there is a radio. Don't go connecting it in your settings. Use the app to connect it. I'm going to hit connect. So it's connecting the device. Okay, so then I'm going to select the model. TIDRadio TD-H3. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click read, right? And as you can see, it is now reading the program we just uploaded with CHIRP into the radio, or into the app from the radio. So once it's done, you'll see that I basically get all of the channels. So here are all the channels, and then the little ones in red are ones that are open, like I don't have anything in those channels. So if I wanted to go add anything, I always could. Like if I wanted to add something into channel 102, I could enter something into the receive frequency, the transmit frequency. If it's like a repeater, I could put different frequencies in there. And then I could change, all these parameters. If I wanted to transmit on high power, if I want it wide or narrow band, if I want to put an encryption in there, like a CTCSS tone or a DCS tone, basically for operating repeaters, that kind of thing. Sometimes they're called privacy codes, but they're not really private. I can name it if I want, whatever I want to do there, I can put in this, but I don't actually want to do anything. So I'm going to leave it. Oops, I went too far. So let me just read it again. Because what I will want to do is I will want to save this as a profile so I can program it later. And in fact, I've actually already saved this once. But if I go here and I go to save, it's going to ask me to name it, right? So I would name it maybe something like H3 ham, right? So I know it's my ham channels, right? And then I would hit confirm. Since I've already done that, I'm not going to do it right now. But let me show you how I would program it if it's already in. So let's say that this wasn't programmed at all and it needed the programming that I'd already saved, right? I would go to offline and you can see there's H3 ham and I would hit write to the radio. And there you see Bluetooth program. It's now writing that program to the radio. It's at 80%, so it's almost done. And then the radio will come back on, and there it is. So it is now programmed off the OD Master app. Okay, guys, so the next thing I want to do is I want to program it with my combine. So I'm going to turn the radio back off, and I'm going to hold the PTT and the star, turn it back on. And it's going to give me this third option, which is normal. Now, what that means is the radio is completely unlocked. It's not locked to the ham bands only, or it's not locked to GMRS. It is open for everything. And so I'm going to go ahead and say yes.
Welcome.
Okay, so as you can see, it's in VFO mode, but if I go to memory mode or channel mode, right, there's nothing in there, okay? So what I'm going to do is I am going to write H3 combined. And let me see if I need to pair it again because I turned it off. We'll find out. Yep, so I need to go back. And I need to connect to Bluetooth again. Yep, so I'm going to hit OK. And as it connects, there we go. I'm going to go to offline. I'm going to go to H3 combined and I'm going to write it to the radio. Oops. There we go. Sometimes if you hit it too fast, it doesn't recognize it. But as you can see, it's programming it to the radio. And guys, this is really, really fast. So what's cool about this is I've created a combined program that keeps all the frequencies I want in the radio. So I'll show you a little bit of that. I'm going to set my iPad to the side here, and I'm going to just hold the radio like this. And I kind of want to show you what I'm doing here. Let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so if you see right there on the screen, there we go, I'm zoomed in. You'll see Kemp 3. So I have a couple of TAC channels, basically. Those are GMRS channels with a privacy code that I use for my family. So I've got 3 of those. And then I've got some ham radio simplex frequencies that I use when I'm out and about. And I've got a few of those. And then I've got my GMRS channels. And then after my GMRS channels, I've got repeater channels for GMRS. And then after that, I've got some ham repeater channels, which are close to me. And then after that, I've got MERS channels in here, Marine VHF. I've got NOAA Weather Radio. I've got all kinds of stuff in here that I will either use like the HAM and GMRS and maybe even MERS, or stuff that I like to monitor, like marine VHF. And quite honestly, if I was in an emergency, I would use it. I would use marine VHF. But in general, I like to monitor a lot of that stuff. And also, I have airband in this radio. So this radio does airband receive. So I have the VHF on guard frequency 121.5. I have my local airports. I have my local Air Force Base in there. Their approach and departure frequencies and things like that. So really cool stuff. So as you can see, guys, this radio is really, really easy to program, and I love it that I can use CHIRP. So basically, because I have a lot of radios and most of them use CHIRP, what I do is I'll copy and paste out of other radio programs I already have. So like I have a program for my Baofangs or for my Oceans or whatever, and I will just copy and paste that into the TIDRadio profile that I create. And so what you want to do first, guys, if you've never used CHIRP before, when you get a new radio, the first thing you're going to want to do is read from the radio. And that'll download whatever's in there. In this case, I think it had one frequency in the first channel, and that was it. And you start with that, and then you build out your channels and your frequencies from there. Put in what you want to put in. In my case, I put in GMRS, I put in HAM, I put in MERS, I put in marine VHF, I put in NOAA weather radio, I put in airband receive. You can put in any of those frequencies that you receive. And like this thing receives 8 different bands. So everything from like 50 megahertz to 600 megahertz. So you've got 6 meter ham band, you've got 1.25 meter band, you've got a lot of land mobile radio frequencies in there, police and fire. If they're using old analog systems, you can listen to them. There's railroad, you can listen to all kinds of stuff with this radio because it is very wideband receive. But you can put all that into any of the 199 memory channels that you want and then use them accordingly. Now, again, guys, I've said this many, many times. It is not technically legal to have a radio that transmits on both ham and GMRS at the same time, right? But there's a lot of people who do it. And I'll just be honest, I do it. And the reason why I do it is because I use stuff like this when I'm outdoors. Like if I'm hiking or camping or doing shoreline fishing or that kind of thing. And I use GMRS to keep in touch with my family, and I use ham radio as a ham radio operator. So I want a radio that does both. I don't want to have to carry 2 radios on a hike. I mean, these things, they don't weigh a lot, but every ounce matters when you're hiking uphill. And I don't want to carry 2 radios, so I don't. So I know that this is probably going to tick off a lot of people. There's a lot of people who really care about type acceptance for radios. My stance is always that you should be licensed for the radio service you want to use. If you want to use ham radio, get your ham radio license. If you want to use GMRS, get your GMRS license, right? And then follow the standards of those licenses. Don't transmit more power than you're allowed. Don't transmit on frequencies you're not allowed to. Make sure that you are using proper antennas for the service you want to use. Make sure you're using the proper equipment for the service you want to use. But all things being equal, if you want to carry one radio for ham and GMRS, I don't care. I mean, it just makes sense to me. That's what I do. So I program my radios in with a variety of frequencies. My other reason is because in an emergency, if I'm on a backcountry trail or something like that and I don't have cell phone signal, I want every frequency available to me to call for help. If I'm out there and all I'm carrying is a GMRS and I call for help on a GMRS channel and I don't get any help, that doesn't help me. Especially if I have a radio that could reach a ham radio repeater that has a much higher chance of someone listening. Well, I'm going to carry one radio that does it all. And I just am. I'm just honest about it, guys. I am not your mother. I'm not telling you what to do. And I'm not telling you what the FCC might do if they were to find out that you are operating on an illegal radio, right? I'm just saying that sometimes practicality just wins the day for me. And so I'm not doing anything that I think would raise the ire of the FCC. I'm not interfering with other people's transmissions. I'm not transmitting more power than I'm supposed to. I'm just using one radio for multiple services. And so that's why I like radios like this. That's why I love to be able to program it, because I don't mind if my radio is able to transmit on frequencies that, you know, it's technically not authorized. But I don't want to hand a radio like this to my son who isn't radio savvy and have him accidentally transmit on a frequency he's not authorized to use, which is why I love to lock these things down to GMRS to put them in people's hands and then, you know, unlock it when it's for me, which is why just reflashing it with my iPad to give me all the channels and frequencies I want is really sweet, and it's really fast, and it's really easy. The fact that this kind of thing doesn't happen in more expensive, more advanced, you know, radios is a shock to me. That this radio does this so easily and so efficiently at a price point right now at the making of this video. Guys, I normally don't mention prices at all because prices fluctuate, and then I get people in the comments that go, hey man, you said it was this much money and now it's this much. I'm like, yeah, that video was 2 years ago and it was on sale. So I normally don't mention price, but I'm going to in this case. Guys, this is a $30 radio. I cannot think of a better radio under $100. And I'm having a hard time coming up with a better radio at even higher price points for the features you get. And on top of that, as you saw in my first video, it's a clean transmitter. It passes the spurious emissions test. It passes the power output test. I can't think of a downside to this radio. I just can't. This thing will do everything you want it to do, and you can do it mostly legally and safely, right? Because you know, you can turn it into a radio that's locked to pure GMRS channels and put it in the hands of a kid or you know, a family member and have it and operate it legally on your GMRS license without the accident of them transmitting on a different frequency. So this is just a fantastic radio, guys. And so I'm going to put links below. One link is to the Amazon page for this radio. And that is an affiliate link, guys. If you use my link to purchase, it doesn't cost you anything extra, but it's a great way to support Kemp Outside. We get a little commission on sale. I'm also going to put a link to the TIDRadio website for this radio where you can purchase it there. If you purchase off TIDRadio, if you use the promo code Kemp Outside, you get 10% off the radios. So if you want to buy it directly from TIDRadio, you're certainly welcome to do that. And I think that is an affiliate link as well. So just keep that in mind. But either way you buy this thing, guys, I mean, I'm seriously questioning why I carry some of the other radios I carry. Like, I'm a huge fan of the Baofeng UV5R, and guys, you can pick those up for under $15 a radio now, and I've done tests on them. They're clean. As a matter of fact, you can check out my review video right there if you want on the Baofeng UV5R. But this radio seems to be smaller. It's got USB-C recharging right out of the box. You don't have to upgrade the battery. It's got a whole lot more bands. It's got a whole lot more channels. And then just the USB-C, you know, programming, the Bluetooth programming. Guys, this thing's killer. The dual PTTs, right? So I don't have to switch between A and B to transmit. I can transmit the top band or the bottom band based on which PTT I use. It does airband receive. I mean, there's so many things about this radio that I absolutely love. So I know this video is getting long. I want to thank TIDRadio for sending it to me, guys. I did not pay for this with my own money. So, you know, just wanted to be upfront. So the con that I noticed, the one thing that I wish, and I'll say this again, I said it in my first video because I like to give balanced reviews. Number one is the screen is off to the left just a little bit. So it's like 1 pixel to the left. So if you're looking at it head on, you don't see the whole screen, but if you can it to the left a little bit, you'll pick up just the far left side of the screen. It is barely noticeable on mine. I've seen it mentioned on the Facebook page for TIDRadio users. Maybe that's something that TIDRadio can fix with a firmware update or something, maybe adjust the screen 1 pixel over or something to fix that. It doesn't bother me because it's so close that it doesn't really matter, but just trying to nitpick some bad things about the radio. It does not have, as far as I can tell, an IP waterproof rating. So I would love for TIDRadio to come out with a waterproof version of this radio that I know that if I'm hiking in the rain, that this thing would be perfectly safe. I imagine it'll handle a little splash, but other than that, I wouldn't want to test it. So if I'm going to be outside in inclement weather, I'm probably going to pick either my Baofeng UV 9R Pro or my GMRS 9R if I want the GMRS version of that radio for waterproof activities like heavy rain or that kind of thing. So yeah, I would love to see a waterproof rating on this radio. The other thing that I would maybe pick on is that when they originally marketed this radio, when the website was initially marketing this radio, it was a tri-band radio. It included the 1.25 meter band for ham radio. And I'm disappointed that this version, at least this version, doesn't transmit on the 1.25 meter band, even when I fully unlock it. So I was really hoping for a tri-band radio, but guys, for 30 bucks, I mean, I'm splitting hairs to find things I don't like about the radio. It is absolutely killer. There are a few less buttons than on the TIDRadio TD-H3. If you are used to the buttons, it's a little bit of a different layout, and there's a little more things that are kind of in the memories or that kind of thing, but it's very intuitive, very easy to use. I didn't have any problems at all. So there's, like I said, I'm really trying to come up with things I don't like about the radio. I mean, it's sweet, it's comfortable in the hand, it's smaller than a UV5R. It's a little thicker, but length and width, it's a little bit smaller. It's fantastic, guys. TID Radio's got a winner in my mind, and if they just keep making a few little iterations, changes and things, if they can get the screen perfect, if they can create a waterproof or give it a waterproof rating that offers protection in inclement weather, this thing is sweet. So that is my take on the TIDRadio TD-H3, and guys, I don't think you can go wrong by picking up one of these or two of these. As a matter of fact, also down in the description below, if I was going to pick up a set of them, I'm going to give you the link for what I would get. If I was going to buy it today, I'm going to give you the link, because there's one on Amazon right now that sells 2 radios. It comes with 4 batteries, so you get extra batteries. It comes with I think extra antennas and stuff like that. Really, really cool setup from TID Radio. So I'm going to put a link to that down in the description as well, because I do think it is a sweet, sweet radio. So with that, guys, I am Kevin with Kemp Outside, your inside source for all things outside. We exist to help moms and dads take their kids camping, hiking, fishing, learn about nature, and develop a conservation ethic. We want to help you get you and your kids outside, but we want you to do it safely. That's why we're doing this video series on outdoor comms, especially when you're in places where there's no cell phone signal. So as this video comes out, I am actually traveling while this video is coming out. So I am in places where we are going to be camping and fishing and hiking where we have no cell phone signal, and we are relying on things like this to stay in communication as a family, and in an emergency to either call for help or respond to a help call. It's very, very important to have a communications plan outside your cell phones if you spend any time outdoors. So that's why we're doing this video series. So I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, give me a thumbs up. Give me a subscribe and click that little bell icon that notifies you when we release new videos. We have a whole lot more coming on radios and communications and all that stuff, plus all the other stuff we do at Kemp Outside. Guys, we do gear reviews, how-to videos, tips and tricks, a whole lot more, campground reviews, camping vlogs, fishing videos, fishing content, fishing how-tos, hiking videos, all kinds of stuff. We love to get outside. So if you're interested in any of that, we'd love for you to follow along with us. And guys, if you use the TIDRadio TD-H3, drop some in the comments below and let me know what you think about this radio. Do you love it? Do you like it? Do you hate it? I want to know what you think. Also, if you have your favorite radio under $100, drop it in the comments below. I would love to know what it is, and I would love to know why you think it beats the TIDRadio TD-H3, because I might just have to give it a try, because this thing is sweet. So I love it. Guys, you can also connect with us on our other social media. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter, or our website at kempoutside.com. And as always, guys, if you see me out there and if you want to know where I'm at, follow my Facebook or my Instagram, If you want to know where I'm at, you can always catch me at a boat ramp or on a hiking trail or at a campground somewhere. If I run into you, ask me for a Camp Outside sticker. I almost always have them on me. I would love to give you a Camp Outside sticker. And guys, we also do gear giveaways and things like that. So stay tuned to the channel. Again, thanks to TIDRadio for sending me this radio. I'm probably gonna have to get a couple more of these. These things are awesome. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.